certified emotional intelligence and resilience coach. I help people navigate challenges in their personal and professional lives which are related to emotions. I help people who want to live life with purpose and follow their intentional goals, leaders who want to become better at navigating conflict or just living up to their best potential. I'm going to be sharing my contact information at the end of the presentation, so feel free to get in touch with me if you'd like to know more about what I do. So let's jump right into it. How can you empower yourself with emotional resilience? At the beginning of 2019, we had an unexpected challenge, the COVID-19 pandemic, which significantly blew out of proportion and impacted the entire world. No one knew what was coming, no one knew how to handle it. No one taught us how to navigate a pandemic, multiple lockdowns, civil unrest, global trauma, exponential change, which has been happening every single day, and all the intense feelings that come with not knowing what's going to happen maybe tomorrow, the next month, or even the next decade. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with unexpected circumstances, setbacks, any sort of challenge that you have in your personal life, in your professional life? At the heart of it is resilience. Resilience is a choice, it can be learned. Before I go further into how we're going to deal with resilience, what are the strategies we can employ, I would love everyone to get a pen, paper, a laptop, however it is that you all love taking notes, because we're going to be working on a real resilience plan in real time. And I'd love for all of you to remember that that is something you can harness if a challenge comes your way in 2021. So let's take a 30-second break while everyone gets ready with that. All right. I hope everyone had a chance to grab a pen, paper, however it is you're taking notes, and we are ready to go. So, what is resilience? I just wanted to show you a slide about what are the characteristics of a resilient person and why is it important to harness, and what makes you a truly resilient person in the face of adversity. Emotional resilience can help you develop healthy coping mechanisms and maintain balance when you are in midst of a stressful time. So you can become a master of your emotions. So you're not in the victim mentality and you believe that life is happening for you and not to you. Resilience is a muscle that can get stronger with use. The more you do it, the better it becomes, and it becomes a habit that you can employ every single day. How do you find a positive meaning from a seemingly negative event is important to remember. Do you survive in the fight, flight, or freeze mode, or do you thrive when a challenge arises? What is it that you want to harness? Even if you are surviving right now, can you go to the thriving mode and deal with challenges better? In short, action, if you can take a small actionable step towards that, you build resilience. The more you do it, you get in the habit of it, and it becomes something that is ingrained in your subconscious over time. And that leads to success. So, what are the characteristics of resilience? I showed you multiple characteristics just 30 seconds ago. The first one, which is truly important, is the internal locus of control. What is your inner voice telling you? What is the critic in your head telling you? How do you view the negative event? Is it something that you cannot handle? Do you go into a negative spiral, or do you just constantly question your own thoughts and behaviors? Or do you see that there is meaning to it? There is something that can be learned from it, and you can use it to your advantage and potential when a significant challenge arrives the next time. The second thing is self-awareness. How self-aware are you of your own emotions? I read a quote that truly resonated with me is, when we are open to our difficult emotions, when we are able to sit with it, not stuff it down, not ignore them, we can actually generate responses that align with our values. We often, when we are in that negative mode, we tend to ignore them, just move on, or have a positive mindset that cannot be useful to you in the moment. So just sitting with it, facing it head on, and seeing where it leads to, what is it trying to tell you, can make you truly more self-aware. The third thing is perseverance. It is a combination of self-belief and your ability to solve problems. How much can you persevere when a problem is persisting over a long period of time? It is the hard work that you do after you get tired of the hard work you've already done. Can you, if you get knocked down multiple times, can you get up again and again and face those challenges head on? And the last thing I'd like to talk about, which is a hallmark of resilience, is optimism. And by no means do I say that when a negative event happens, do not see it as a negative event and see just the positive side of it. We have to face the negativity head on. We have to sit with it, acknowledge it, take some time to feel it, to process it, and then see the optimistic side of it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Every cloud has a silver lining, and then take meaning from it and move forward. So now that we've spoken about what is resilience, what are the characteristics you can learn to build resilience, why is it important, I want to show you 4 ways of how you can reframe resilience from a different perspective. And I'm going to just share that in a moment. The first thing I'd like to talk about that I named is called doors closed, doors open. Here, a quotation that really strikes me is a quotation by a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus. He said that the only thing that is constant in our life is change, especially today in these relevant times. In a decade of exponential change, we have to learn how to be more adaptable, how to be more flexible with our changing circumstances, and take the opportunities that come our way. The goal of this exercise is to realize that when one door, sorry, Raquel. Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard someone say something. The goal of this exercise is to realize that the end of something is also the beginning of something new. Oftentimes, when an opportunity closes on us, we become so engaged in it as to why it happened. What could I have done better to do something about it? Do I really need it? Can I let go of it? We fail to see that something significant can come out of it, or a new opportunity can come our way. And the goal of this slide is also to make you aware that there can be currently, that can be something that can be preventing you from adopting a more positive outlook when doors close. So I'd love for all of you to take a moment and think about a challenge that we've all faced. It can be something you faced last year. It can be something you're going through right now. And think about what doors closed on you. And as a result of the door that was closed on you, what door opened for you? Can you remember something like that? The goal is for you to remember that once you have faced this, you can face it again. You can become resilient in nature. Say you have a job loss, you know that you were able to find a new job. Say you had a divorce, you knew you were married once, you're able to find a partner again. So to be able to remember that you've faced an adversity before and you can deal with it again. And here I'd really like to take the example of Steve Jobs. He's the co-founder of Apple. Everyone in the room knows him. He was forced out of Apple in 1985 after the long power struggle with the company's board and CEO. The same year, instead of counting his losses, he founded another tech company called Next. And then he went on to found Pixar, which is a Disney company. And a few years later, Apple acquired the same company and made him the CEO again. He saved Apple on the verge of its bankruptcy. The goal here is to remember, he's always said this in his speeches, that all the traumatic setbacks he experienced has contributed to his stellar success. He said that in his multiple commencement speeches, that let's not be defined by our failures, but how we recover from those failures. He had a very difficult childhood. He had a long stint with pancreatic cancer, and he was ousted out of his own company. So when you think about a challenge that you have faced and what doors were closed on you, and as a result of what doors opened for you, think about what character strengths did you employ in the moment. Were you able to respond effectively, or were you very paralyzed by fear and you could not let go of the negative thoughts? What did you do in the moment? What did you harness? Think of all the people who've helped you open these doors. Has there anybody been significant in your life who can help you reframe your failures as opportunities? What did they do to help you? Can you do something to help others if you see them facing a significant adversity? The goal here is to think about it from a perspective that when something happens this year to you, how can you use this technique to face a challenge or an adversity again? So now we've spoken about the first thing that we can do to reframe resilience is doors closed, doors open. I'm going to go into the next one, which is something really close to my heart. It's called using your personal values to build resilience. So here is a quotation. I'm a very philosophical person, so I love living by quotations. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. It's by a German philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. He's written multiple books. The goal of this exercise is to remember anything that you want to do, anything that you want to overcome, literally anything. You want to build a new habit, you want to overcome a physical goal, you want to start something new, you need to have your why. If you have your why, you can figure out a path forward and the steps that you want to take towards it. How do you manage stress right now? Manage stress by knowing what you personally value. And then the trick is to create the value reminders. It can be in form of a drawing, it can be form of a visual digital vision board that you have, photographs that you've taken, it can be a PowerPoint presentation, it can be any creative outlet that you use. It can be an affirmation that you listen to every single day, it can be a meditation that you do. But to remind yourself of your values every single day so that you know that you're living a life that are aligned by your own personal values. We all thought of a challenging life event that we faced either the past year or we are currently facing. So look at it from this perspective now. Identify your reasons of why you got through that challenge. What were your values that helped you? And remember, was there a way you stayed in touch with your values, or were you finding it hard to live a life aligned with your values when you were consumed by that stress? Here, before we go into this exercise of how we can use our values, I'd like to share a couple of examples that I think are truly relevant for this. The first one is Elon Musk. He's the founder of SpaceX and Tesla. Everyone knows him. His core value has always been perseverance and grit. He has had a string of failures right from the start of his career up to the point where Tesla was almost bankrupt and he did not know what to do. He couldn't deliver on his promises, but he is an icon who has developed determination over time, never got bogged down by failures, and it led him to being highly resilient. Today, he is the richest person. He's overtaken, I think, Jeff Bezos also a couple of days ago. The other example that I think that truly resonates is Jack Ma. His values at Alibaba have always been equality and empathy. 47% of women at Alibaba are women, and 50% of the top management at Alibaba are also women. He truly lives by that core value. He leads with empathy. He is a leader who believes in putting his employees first, before his customers, before his company, anything. And all the examples I have given you right now can seem like very far away. They are all iconic figures. It's been, it's easy to see them as successes, but you don't see the failures behind what happened to them, what they had to overcome to reach where they are today. So you could take a personal example here. My personal value has always been growth and development and relationships. I like to invest in courses where I learn something new, and I like to have a work-life balance where I can invest in my personal relationships, whether it's with my family, whether it's my friends, my significant other. I truly value at the core of my self relationships. So you have to really have an understanding of what your values are. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. So here is a list of values that you can see on the screen. Feel free to take a screenshot, or Raquel's going to put a link in the chat right now. You can go to my website and find these list of values later. If you'd like to do this exercise later, that's also fine. And I'd like to mention by no means that this list of values is exhaustive. This is something that I just found, I came up with, and I like them and I align with them. You can come up with your own values and add to this list. Please feel free to do that. So looking at this list, I know it can seem like huge, it's a task. How do you define your values? Values can be defined in 5 broad categories. It can be personal, it can be social, it can be political, it can be economic, it can be religious. Whatever matters to you, it will be highly individualized to you. Let's say you've never defined your personal values before. How do you get started? The first step is do a brain dump, a data dump, write it down in a journal, on a laptop, whatever is comfortable with you. What makes you feel good? When was the last time you felt truly successful? What is it there something you want to change about the world? Something you want to change about yourself? What are you most proud of? And see what comes up for you. You can look at the list and see what feels right for you. What feels right for you in your gut? What is your intuition telling you? And it will happen that you will align with at least 10 to 15 of the values that are listed here. Now you have those list of 10 to 15 values. What do? They have to point you in a certain direction. If they are all over the place, you will not know what you truly value. The second step would be to prioritize your personal values. How do you do that? You can score them in the order of most important to least important. Say health is a value that you truly want to focus on this year. You would like to focus on planning, eating healthy, doing meal preps, anything that's aligned with a particular orientation. Make them into subsets and then come up with your list of values. At the end of this exercise, once you've cut down in a particular direction, you will come up with 4 to 5 values that are truly fundamental and integral to you. And that's what you value. The third thing is, once you've identified your values, live by them with integrity. Use them for goal setting. Use them for monthly goal settings, yearly goal settings, weekly goal setting, whatever works for you. But if you live by your values with the goals and you're aligned with them, you will know that you are truly building resilience over time. Here, I'd like to mention that there can be possible barriers to overcome. What if your personal values are in conflict with those of your family or society? Oftentimes it happens. An example would be like, say you really want to take a risk and become an entrepreneur, but you have a family and kids to take care of, and you're the primary breadwinner and you can't do that. So find a way where you can live by your values half the time and also do the other thing if it's impossible for you to take a complete risk. And lastly, I would like to mention that do this exercise on a yearly basis, because you can adapt and change your values when needed. We human beings are very dynamic. We are constantly growing and evolving as people. What might be valuable to you last year might not be valuable to you this year. Say a person goes through a divorce. Before, a value that was important to that person was stability and security. Now it's freedom and expression. So your values can change with time. The important thing to know is to know that it can change and to accept it. To be able to do that is true hallmark of resilience as well. So the couple of things that we've spoken about, the strategies are doors closed, doors open, reframing your negative events in life, and how you can use your personal values to build resilience. The third thing I'd like to talk about is how you can leave your comfort zone and grow. And I will share that in a moment again. Okay. The next thing is leaving your comfort zone. Here's a picture where you can see the smallest zone, the red bubble is your comfort zone. After the comfort zone comes the fear zone. If we stay long enough in the fear zone, we naturally move on to the learning zone. And if we stay long enough in the learning zone, we go into the growth zone. What does this all mean? It means that if we want to take a risk in our life, we have to move out of our comfort zone. Say we became a new parent, or we want to commit to someone and get married. We want to run a half marathon. We want to have a new goal that we really want to achieve. Everything requires us to move out of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is where we feel the most safe, we are in control, we feel like we can control our actions, we are certain of the outcome, and we just know what to do. But if we can move into the fear zone where we face our fears head on, we can actually enter the learning zone where we deal with challenges and problems in a different way. We acquire new skills and we extend beyond our comfort zone. So this figure can make it seem like growth is a linear process. By no means it is a linear process. We can move from our comfort zone into a fear zone and multiple times go back from our fear zone into the comfort zone and not want to move. Maybe we set a new goal and we don't want to do it anymore and we want to be in our comfort zone. That's also okay. Oftentimes it can happen that after we become okay with dealing with our fear, we go into the learning zone again. We go there, we expand our skill set, we learn, but we can still fall back into the fear zone or into the comfort zone. So this is by no means a linear process. We have to go through this again and again to expand where we want to go into and ultimately be in the growth zone, which is the big picture vision of our life. So let's take an example here of what leaving the comfort zone means. Let's say we have a person who has a fear of public speaking. That was me a long time ago. 8 years ago, I had no experience speaking in public. I had just started my career and I was really, really scared. I just wanted to do my job, get done, and just not have any presence. When you are in that space, there is very, very little room for growth or for learning. You often stuck with what you're comfortable with, and you can often miss significant personal development opportunities or professional opportunities if you stay in your comfort zone all the time. When we enter the fear zone, it is often the most challenging part of our journey. And it happened, I was working at a startup in Silicon Valley, and I was working in a team of 5 people, and my manager asked me to present in front of a group, which was about 50 people. I could have chosen to say no and been where I was in my comfort zone. But I said yes, and I stepped into my fear zone for the first time. I went ahead and gave that presentation. I made a lot of mistakes. I couldn't answer questions properly, and that was okay with me. And I felt like I did not want to do this again. So I went back into my comfort zone. Again, an opportunity arose, maybe I think a couple of months later, and I had to do a talk again. So this happened multiple times over a period of months and years, which required me stepping from my comfort zone into the fear zone and learning zone multiple times. The more we can enter the learning zone, the more we expand ourselves. And we have to spend a lot of time in the learning zone to go into the growth zone. The growth zone is where we ultimately redefine ourselves, where we truly live our true purposes, find our passion in life in terms of what we can do, in terms of what we can achieve, and in terms of what we feel comfortable with. When we enter the growth zone, we have increased our resilience because we are looking at the big picture. We have increased our resilience at a very fundamental personal level. And entering that growth zone is the ultimate reward for enduring the fear zone. So I encourage all of you to think about, it can be any area of your life. It can be personal, professional, a new goal, a new habit. and any other thing that you can think of. Where are you in your comfort zone, and what fears you would like to face, and how you can go into the learning zone and ultimately the growth zone. And here, the thing to remember is that you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. So just think about it and move on to the next step. So here we have spoken about 3 ways of redefining, reframing resilience. The first thing was doors closed, doors open. The second thing was using your personal values to build resilience. And the third thing was leaving your comfort zone. Now, I hope everybody's ready with their pen and paper, because we're going to be working on the resilience plan that we spoke about. And I'm going to share that in a moment again. Here is it. It is the 4 S's. Feel free to take a screenshot of this slide as well. What are the 4 S's here? Supports, strategies, solution-seeking behaviors, and sagacity. I'll explain what all of them mean bit by bit. The first thing is supports. What happens when an unexpected crisis happens and you're going through an emotional storm or an adversity? What are the people you rely on? Who is the first person you call? Those are the supports that keep you upright in that moment. It can be your partner, it can be your family, it can be your colleagues, it can be your therapist, it can be your coach, mentor, anybody, even yourself if you like journaling. But have a list of people who you can rely on and are your true support in the moment of adversity when it's happening. The second thing is strategies. Strategies. What is it that keeps you moving in that period of significant stress? We often, when we feel stress, we tend to go into this downward spiral, or we procrastinate on our routine tasks, or we just fall into a rut of overeating or overindulging in Netflix, and we don't realize it's happening. Strategies that can keep you moving can be a meditation, yoga you do every day, journaling, expressing gratitude to someone you know, playing with your dog, creative expression, writing, literally anything that can calm you and ground you in the moment. Have a list of the strategies that work for you on a personal level, just a couple, and do them daily, so that you get into that routine and habit and stick to it, so you don't fall into that negative thought pattern again and again. The third thing is solution-seeking behaviors, behaviors that you show and take action on and actually implement. Let's take an example here that, let's say you had a sudden loss of a job in the pandemic last year and you had to look for a new job. What are the solution-seeking behaviors that you can show here? You can try to get in touch with people who work at companies where you want to work at. You can do informational interviews to learn more. You can work on your resume to make it better. Or you can just find new opportunities that align with you. Treat that as a new path. But to have a list of behaviors that work for you. Maybe you didn't do it in the past and you'd like to adopt those behaviors now. So come up with a list of behaviors that you couldn't harness before, but you would like to do it now. And the last thing is sagacity. Sagacity means words of wisdom, anything that gives you comfort and hope in the moment. It can be poetry, it can be spiritual teachings, it can be a song that you love, it can be movies, it can be words that your grandmother said to you, or something that your family relies on, or something that came from your own experience. It's very easy to say, oh my God, a negative event has happened. Let me reframe it. I have to not react from a victim mode. Let me call someone, talk to them. Let me employ this strategy. Let me take these actionable steps. But often when we are processing those negative emotions, all we need is comfort and hope to have something ready to do that. My personal example, which really helps me, is a movie. It's called The Pursuit of Happiness. In that movie, Will Smith is he's a homeless person and he has a kid. And he gets knocked down in his life several times. No matter what, he keeps getting up back again and again to provide for his kid and build a life for himself. And in the end, overcoming and conquering all his obstacles, he manages to become a millionaire and a hedge fund manager. It's a really beautiful movie. It teaches me that no matter what happens, everything will be okay in the end. Have a quotation up on your fridge or on your phone that can remind you, but find something that personally aligns with you. So now that we've all seen this slide and you've all thought about a significant challenge that you've been facing or have faced, I would love for all of you to come up with a plan which says your past sources of resilience, and use these four different characteristics to define your past sources of resilience. What were the supportive people that you relied on? What were the strategies that you used? What were the solution seeking behaviors that you did? Maybe you didn't do something and you want to do more of it now. And what was the words of wisdom and hope that kept you going? Once you have your past sources of resilience plan ready, make one for this year. Make it and call it your future sources of resilience. Make one for 2021. Maybe you want to have more supportive community. How can you find those people? Maybe you want to try a new strategy. Maybe something didn't work for you in the past. What are the behaviors you want to adopt? And the wisdom and hope can be anything. It can literally be a pop song that doesn't resonate with anyone. Listen to it as many times as you want, but rely on it. Once you have your past sources of resilience ready, and once you have your future sources of resilience ready, keep it handy where you can see it. Keep it wherever you can harness it in the moment when something happens and you truly need to rely on it. When challenging times arise, it is very, very important to remember that you can choose to see the good. You can choose to be optimistic. How do you do that? You process your emotions on a fundamental level and get in the habit of it. Getting in the habit of it will reframe your mind and have you look at the optimistic side. Change the way you think to change the way you feel. If we can remember that, we can almost look at any silver lining. Be the lead in your own life story and enjoy the process. It can seem very hard in the moment when we are consumed by those patterns and stress. But if we can remember even one of these things, we have taken a small step forward. And those small step forwards every single day will build resilience over time. As you build a new habit, resilience is something that can be built. Nobody is born with it. It can be learned. It is something that you can truly learn with your thoughts, behaviors, and actions. So we have spoken about 4 ways of looking at resilience. We viewing opportunities as doors close, doors open, seeing something good out of a seemingly negative event, using your personal values to build resilience. I would love for all of you to do that exercise at some point so all of you know what you truly align with. Leaving your comfort zone and taking a risk towards something, and then having a resilience plan ready based on your past sources and what you would like your future sources to be. So now that we've spoken about all of this, I would love to leave all of you with some tips that you can practice on a daily basis and start today. The first thing you can do is to recognize signs of stress. What do you think is happening in your body? Where do you feel it? What is your bad habit when you get stressed? Is it just sleeping the entire day and forgetting that you have a problem to deal with? Recognize that bad habit and change it with small steps. The second thing is to build physical hardiness. And it is not only being physically fit. You make small changes to improve your health daily. Better nutrition, better exercise, better hydration. We often forget to drink water on a daily basis, and it can change our resilience significantly. And be accountable to someone. Accountability is a huge factor. If you'd like to make a change, maybe on a weekly or a monthly basis, come up with a thought of the change that you'd like to make. Write it down. One change I would like to make, and Secondly, write down who you will tell about it. Having someone accountable to you significantly changes how you respond to this and what actions you do to build up to it. Have an accountability partner. Do the same for someone else. The third thing is strengthen your relaxation response. Oftentimes, we are very harried, we are rushed, we are anxious, we forget to have a calm body and a calm mind. Identify activities that help you relax at home, at work, what can help you bring back to the present moment and not be in the past, not be in the future moment. Identify them and do one activity on a daily basis. The fourth thing is using your strengths. Remember a time when you were able to overcome a significant challenge. What personal strengths did you draw upon? Draw an image of when you were the most resilient, if you are a visual person, and have that drawing handy to remind you of that. How might you apply the strength now when something is happening? The fifth thing is, how can you increase positive emotions on a daily basis? As I mentioned, in those hard times, it can be hard to think about positive emotions or even feel them. Find sources of joy, humor, gratitude, anything significantly small, but practice gratitude every single day. The sixth thing, engage in meaningful activities. Remind yourself every day what happened that was meaningful. What are your activities that are associated with you being in your flow state? Here you can use, there's a journal that I really like. It's called the 5-minute journal. You only have to take out 5 minutes of your day to practice what was meaningful and what brought you gratitude. You can do it in the morning, you can do it at night before sleeping, but remember to do that. So you remember that you've accomplished something and you've taken a small step forward. And even if you haven't, it's okay. The eighth thing is counter unhelpful thinking. We all have thoughts and actions that are not good for us. The thing here is to observe them and not react to them. How do you respond to unhelpful thoughts? Think about it from this perspective. What is the worst that could happen? If it did happen, could I survive it? What is the best that could happen? Is it likely it's going to happen? If you can't stop thinking about a situation, write about it consistently for a few weeks and see how your story or the narrative that you're telling yourself changes over time. Think about what you would tell a friend in that situation and then give that same advice to yourself. And if you're being really hard on yourself, you have to remember to practice self-compassion. Oftentimes, when we are so compassionate to others, we forget to be compassionate to ourselves. Remember what a hero, a coach, a mentor, anybody who told you that you could do it, especially in the moments when you are doubting yourself. Remember that to counter your unhelpful thinking and your negative thought patterns that may arise. And last but not the least, create a caring community. Find it in your friends, your family, your colleagues, your supportive people, and practice good communication and conflict resolution skills with them. Have a conversation every single day so you feel like you are surrounded by a tribe of supportive people. If we can practice these tips on a daily basis, not all, even some of them, we are on the path to truly building resilience. Here, I'd like to end this talk and say thank you to everyone who attended my talk. I am open for questions now. And before we do that, I'd like to share how you can get in touch with me. There are multiple avenues. You can follow me on Instagram. Here's my WeChat. You can scan the QR code. You can get your free Unlocking Emotional Intelligence profile. If you feel like you have a hard time defining your strengths, your weaknesses, what your character strengths are, feel free to get in touch with me and you could take this test. It's a short 10 to 15-minute assessment. You have to answer certain questions based on your emotions, and you can realize where your baseline emotional intelligence skills are, how much you know yourself, how much you choose yourself in these situations, and how much you give yourself. And you can work from there on these multiple strategies. You can email me, you can go to my website, priyalthakur.com, and book a call with me. There are multiple avenues. Please feel free to get in touch with me however you think is fit. Thank you so much. Questions?
Priyal, there is a question in the I'm sorry, in the chat box. um, I don't know if you can see it, or do you want me to read it to you, or can you see it?
I can see it, but I'm going to share my slide again in case someone needs it. So could you read it out, please?
Yes. So the question is increase positive emotions on the daily basis. Can you share main techniques, please?
Um, a couple of things that I try to do is write in the gratitude journal, the 5 minute gratitude journal that I was talking about. It generally enhances my response to what I have done in a single day, what actions I have taken, and it reminds me that I'm going forward. I generally like to watch a comedy movie that puts me in a positive mood, or call a loved one who can give me words of advice that it's okay to feel like this, but you can move on. So find something that aligns with you. It can be meditating, it can be yoga, it can be going out for a walk in the nature, it can be boxing, multiple things uh, you can try. Does that answer your question? I don't know who asked that question.
Ekaterina.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? I'm Johnny.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you spoke about the comfort zone, fear zone, learning zone, growth zone, and you also mentioned that it's non-linear. Okay.
Right.
My question to you is that how do I stay in the growth zone without unconsciously going back to comfort zone?
Hmm. That is a good question. I think I grapple with that myself. I constantly go back from the growth zone to my comfort zone. I think the way I do that is I reassess what my goals are and what requires me to go out of my comfort zone and what doesn't, and to be really aware of it. And I think about it on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and I can tell when I'm actually shifting consciously from the growth zone back to the learning zone, or maybe just completely back to the comfort zone, and I really don't want to work on it. So being aware of it, writing about it, I make a Google document of all the goals I want to achieve every year. And then I assess them on a monthly basis to realize what's happening. So that really helps me. So find a way that you can evaluate your own uh, goals that you want to achieve.
Thank you.
Sure. I think there's a question in the chat from Emily.
Yes. Yes.
Could you say more about solution seeking behaviors? Yes. Um, So, is there a particular context in what you would like me to talk about the solution-seeking behaviors, or is it more general, Emily? Okay.
Mm. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Larissa from Shanghai. And I have a quick question, which would like to find out if you have any good recipe
Mhm.
for which I find this year, like obviously a lot of change happened. And then, as you mentioned, for example, the negative events happen, or some colleague they are like a behavior discourage you. And
Yeah.
then I realized that because this happened more last year than
Mhm.
usual, so I find that it will, when it happened, it will bring me to some negative emotion. And also obviously like I will feel angry, which is all authentic. Where while I would like to find a way to be able to faster and quicker to deal with my emotion, so that I can go back to the solution mode
Right.
uh, and a strategy, you know?
So you'd like to know more about what strategies you can employ in the moment to shift from a negative frame of mind to a positive frame of mind.
Yes. And also emotion wise.
Mm.
I felt these two happen at the same time. Like when the negative emotion starts, like anger or disappointment, and then the thoughts come, negative thoughts come together. Yeah.
Right. So I think oftentimes when we as humans feel anger or disappointment, we tend to react in very different ways. Everyone has a very different response. Some people shut down, some people like to talk about it with someone and go through the process of navigating that. Some people write about it. What is it that you use to deal with the anger and disappointment that you feel? Is there a particular thing that you do right now in the moment? Or is there a particular thing that you would like to adopt?
Oh, okay. So right now, the how I do as I usually find a friend or someone mature enough that who I can talk with. But it's not as but that one will that person is not available all the time, right? So I like to find a way to deal it myself.
Okay. Journaling really helps.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, I feel like when I want to talk to someone about it, you can just talk to yourself about it and write it down. That process is very therapeutic because it makes you actually aware of the different thoughts and feelings that you're
Mhm.
having. But it can be a ball in your head where you don't have clarity about what is it that you
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
So journaling really helps in the moment if
Mhm.
that is something that you would like to try.
Yeah, I would say like, would you have? I really like the four pillars that you just mentioned, and I think for journaling, when we are felt we are overwhelmed, right? If do you happen to have like a framework or a thinking process that can lead us during the journaling?
Sure. I think one thing I forgot to mention with the 4S plan that I laid out with the resilience is that it is by no means that you have to do the support first, then the strategies, then the solution seeking behaviors and the sagacity. You can choose them however you like, whatever your personal situation is, and employ the technique that works for you the most and is most feasible in the moment. So what
Mhm.
say finding comfort and hope is most feasible to you in the moment, so do that first, and that is a small step towards the next step. And then say you want to use some strategies to ground yourself, do that next. So use that as a framework for journaling. That will make you more aware of what you need in the moment, but start with the first small thing that aligns with you and is the easiest for you to do.
Mm. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot.
Of course, thanks. Going back to Emily's question, sorry, I'm just going to answer that first.
Yeah.
Say more about solution seeking behaviors. I think I used an example of someone who lost their job uh, and weren't expecting it. And they didn't have a plan on how to deal with it. So they don't really know where to go next or what to do. So, in that mode, it can happen that you just in the freeze mode and you don't know whether you can find something that better suits your needs. So, solution seeking behaviors here would be to enhance your chances of finding a better job that is suited to your needs and finding something that aligns with you. So, it can be actively reaching out to people on LinkedIn, say, to do informational interviews and enhance your interviewing skills. It can be actively working on your resume to make it better so you can attract that job that you are looking for, or planning for what happens the next time you lose a job. So those are some examples of solution seeking behaviors that you can use, and it can be used in different contexts. It doesn't just have to be in terms of a job. It can be if you're an entrepreneur and you face something else, or anything else in your personal life. Does that answer your question, Emily? All right, great. That's a yes. Thanks. More questions?
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. So thank you so much, Priyal. This was incredible. Very action oriented. So I think we all got a lot of action on our problems and solution oriented thought process. So thank you for that. Um, the next thing that will happen in this convention is an outlook of what happened in the morning sessions and also a lucky draw that will happen in the other room. So James already put the details for the Zoom session in the chat box. I will also share my screen where you can, let me see if I can make this bigger, where you can see all the details. It will start in about 10 minutes, 8 minutes. So let's all go to the to the other room, to the business room, and see the lucky draw. Maybe there will be some prizes that you can win. So I will see you in about 8 minutes in the business room. The details are in the chat box and also in your screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.